right, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to start talking about my series audit. I have been tracking my series throughout the year and I have it all on one spreadsheet. So we're just going to run through the whole thing. I'm going to do it quickly. I don't want to be here forever, but I do have some things I want to talk about, whether it's series DNF, series I'm unsure about, series I've finished, or series I'm eager to continue on with. And we'll just go through all of it quickly today. Now, these are all in here in order of when I put them into the spreadsheet, not of when I read them or anything like that. So we're going to do our best to kind of keep it condensed. So according to my spreadsheet, I have 47 finished series, 11 series I've DNF'd, and 75 series in progress. Holy mama jamma. That is a lot. Like I said, we're going to go through this fairly quickly. I'm not going to dwell on too many things on this. We will talk through it all. All right. The first series on this list is The Eye of the Goddess by Soraya Wilson. This is a romantasy series that I started this year. I do plan to continue on with it. So far, I have only read one book in the series and I gave it 4 stars. So it's one that I think that I will enjoy, but I think it's probably going to remain at a 4-star series for me. The Eternal Path trilogy by Antonia Hodgson. That would be The Raven Scholar and my current read. It is only one book deep, there's no other books published. So once I finish this one, I will not be able to make progress with it until the next book is released. The Graven. This is one we need to talk about. So The Graven by Essa Hansen. If you guys don't know, this is one of my favorite series of all time. When I have a favorite series, sometimes I will let that third book or that final book linger on my TBR because I don't want it to be over. But in 2026, one of my plans is to go back to favorite series, whether it be The Graven or 5 Warrior Angels, read the entire series from start to finish. I don't know if I'm going to try and do these in a week. With 5 Warrior Angels, that might be a little bit difficult. I do want to go back, reread the whole thing, start to finish, and then finally check it off of my series list. Next is Mages of the Wheel by J.D. Evans. I read Reign and Ruin. We were going to start this series and finish it this year in my Patreon read along, and some of us kind of got distracted and decided that we were going to put it off. And well, we've put it off for far too long now. So yes, I will continue this. I gave the first book a 3.9, so that's currently where the series sets at for me because I have not moved on. I've only read one. There are 4 books total. The Kystrom Chronicles by Taryn Hunt. I read that early this year, and I want to continue. I do believe it's a duology, so I have read one. There is another one that has been released. I have not gotten to it yet. The Dark Pantheon by A.S. Webb is a romantasy series. I gave the first book a 3.2, so I will not be continuing with that series. Flesh and False Gods by Chloe Gong. I really love this series. It currently sets at a 4.4 with 2 books in the series being read, awaiting the release of the 3rd, so I will be continuing with that. Fae and Alchemy by Kaylee Hart. I just got Brimstone, so I will be reading that probably very soon because it's going to eat at me if I don't read it. The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. I gave the first book a 2.2, so I will not be continuing with that series. I finished The Crimson Moth this year by Kristen Ciccarelli. It is a 5-star duology for me. Probably one of my, I would have to say it is my favorite young adult romantasy that I have read. Ruinous Love Trilogy by Bren Weaver. I finished that this year. The Last Legacy by James Logan. I have read one book. I gave it 4 stars, but Blackfire Blade just released, and so I need to get my hands on that and read that. That'll probably be one I either tackle in December or early in 2026. Heart and Mercy I finished this year. I actually think that the series goes downhill, but the series as a whole is a 4.53 on my rating scale. And so I loved the first book, really liked the second book, and thought the third one was fine. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. The Oak and Holly Cycle by K.A. Lind. I have read the first book. I know the second book has been released, but I'm iffy on whether or not I'm going to continue. I gave the first book a 3.4. It was really interesting and had a lot of interesting elements. So I do think it's a series that I will probably pick up eventually, but it's not high on my priority list. Bargainer by Laura Thalassa. I read the first book. There are 4 books in that series. I do own all 4 on audio, so it's likely that I will read this at some point. but again, not on high on my priority list, as I gave the first book a 3.15. Crowns of Nyaxia. There are 8 books in this series, or will be 8 books in this series. For some reason, it's showing that I've read 1. No, I have read first duology, and I have read Scorched Roses novella, and then I have also read Playing the Vampire Conqueror. So I've read quite a bit in this series. I don't know why it's not showing. It's only showing 1, but I'll have to go back and figure that out. Yes, I do plan to continue with that series as well. I'm going to read the whole thing. I love Carissa Broadbent. Tuonela Duet by Emily Rath. This is North is the Night. That is the first book. I gave that first book 5 stars. So I'm very, very excited to see where this series goes. On my spreadsheet, it's a 4.9. So it's not true 5-star, but I absolutely loved that first book. Next is Shadow of the Leviathan by Robert Jackson Bennett. I love this series. I love these characters. I love this world. I love the mystery of the day that we are solving in each of these. And I think it works really well in the world that Robert Jackson Bennett has set up. But I love how the second book really expanded on the world building of the first. It was so cool. Astral Kingdoms by David Dalglish. Here is the thing. I love the synopsis of David Dalglish books. They sound like they should be 100% up my alley, totally for me, a thing that I am jumping on at every given second because they sound so good. However, his writing style often does not work for me, and that always makes me so sad. I don't know if I'm going to continue this series or not. I am reading a series from him that'll probably come up later, that I just need 1 book to finish. But this one in particular, it was kind of outside my wheelhouse. I gave it a 3.8. It was done well for what it was. That just what it was not to my tastes. Crucible by Abigail Owen. I have read the first 2 in the trilogy and just recently finished the second book. I really love these, and the series right now is at a 4.3. The reason for that is I gave the second book 4 stars because it was whiplash. It was insane. I'll talk about it more in a upcoming video when I wrap up what I have been reading. My goodness. It is very good though. Very much centers on the Greek gods and a competition and a human running the gauntlet in order to help these gods win these competitions and things like that. But really, really enjoyed it. Wicked Games by Kaylee Smith. I have read the first 2. I don't know how this series is going to play out because the third book in this series is very different stylistically, like the cover, from the first 2. So I don't know if she's writing a series of duologies like a lot of other romantasy authors do, but her book is very different. I have here that it's 4 books long because that is what I heard from some source somewhere. I don't know exactly where. I really like Kaylee Smith's writing. The series as a whole is at 4.15, and I do think I will continue. The Andronin War by KB Wagers. I haven't thought about this one all year. Okay, so really liked the setup of this story, the first book. I really liked the characters in it. The writing just wasn't there for me, and so I go back and forth on whether or not I want to read the rest of this series, but I do have more KB Wagers on my physical TBR, so I will be picking up those. I just don't know how I feel about possibly having to reread this first book because it's been a while, and once I read it, a lot of it left my brain. I don't know. That one is kind of iffy and up in the air. Silver Elite. Okay, this is probably going to make it onto my favorites of the year. It's going to. It's definitely going to. Silver Elite is probably one of the best romantasy books I have read in a really long time. I've been reading romantasy over the last couple of years, and I found my niche, this dystopian era romantasy. Absolutely love it. I plan to pick up the next book as soon as it releases, and I think it's going to be a trilogy. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Again, do we know if it's finished? Because I have read Mate, and I thoroughly enjoyed both of these books. Ali Hazelwood's always going to be a top tier author for me. This one is at a 4.25. It's not the 5-star that I've given her feminist novellas, or novels, but I do think Ali Hazelwood is just an auto-buy author for me. I always plan to read her books. If she publishes more in this, I will be so excited. If she doesn't, I still really enjoyed this duology. Song of the Shattered Sands by Bradley P. Bulau. Okay, I read the novella that starts the series. I have not actually read the first book of this, but I do plan to next year. And I'm very excited by that novella to get into this and see if I like it. A lot of my friends have told me that they think I will. Kingdom of Lies by Stasia Stark. If you guys have seen my Romantasy bingo, this book, or the third book in this series, is on it. I have really enjoyed these. Right now it's sitting at a 4.1 for the series, and I have read 2 books. Yes, I do plan to continue. Heartstrings by B.K. Borison is a romance series. I really loved the first book, and I want to see what the other books entail before picking them up, but I do think I probably will continue because B.K. Borison's writing was really good. The banter between these characters was really good. I absolutely adored it. And that book came in at a 4.1 for me, so I probably will continue. Stonewater Kingdom by Rachel Gillig, Night and the Moth. I adored that book. I gave it a 4.9. I love Rachel Gillig's writing. I love the dark atmosphere of her books. They are always very gothic, very atmospheric. They lend to some of the horror elements that gothic novels are known for, and I really enjoy that, especially with the diviners and how they are able to divine things, how they give their prophecies as they come to the brink of death. So it's one of those things that fits well into the story, but also gives it a little bit of a creepier element. Adored it. The Everlands trilogy by Ed Crocker. Definitely plan to continue. Now this one came in at a 3.7 for me. I really, really loved a lot of the elements of the story, but it is a very stylistic choice that Ed Crocker takes in writing this book that I don't know if it's 100% for me. I do love all of the elements of the story. I love the vampires, the mystery, the war between factions. Is there a such thing as good and evil when you're dealing with monsters? Those kinds of things. As a whole, there were certain aspects of it that just didn't work for me. So that's why it came in at a 3.7 and not any higher, but I do plan to continue on with it. Reign of Remnants by Julie Johnson. This was another romantasy that kind of swept me off my feet. The Wind Weaver. I know a lot of people have really enjoyed this. Is this going to make my favorite books of the year? Probably not. I know a lot of people have been like, this is the best one. And I get it. I get it. But classic fantasy elements are not my favorite. And this had a little bit too many of those elements for me to deem it a favorite. But I really, really enjoyed it. Yes, I will be continuing on. Song of the Unfated by Danielle L. Jensen. I did finish that series. It came in at a 4.2 for me. It's a duology. It was fun. I can't say it was a favorite, but it was really fun. I liked the Viking aspects of this story. I really liked the lore behind this. The relationship in it was not the best, but I really thought both books were fun. And so it's like a 4.12, not the highest rated on my list, but also not the lowest, and still a fun one. But yes, I did complete that. Indrid's Curse. This would be Spark of the Everflame and that series. I definitely plan to continue. I just got my hands on the third book, so I will probably be reading that very, very soon. This series, the first 2 books, 4.8. That's where I have landed with this series. So it's almost a 5-star series for me. First book does have some elements that make it feel like it is the prologue to the rest of this series. So it wasn't a 5-star, but it was highly, highly enjoyable. And I can't wait to continue. Devils, Joe Abercrombie. I did actually finish this book. The vlog that I had, I said I was DNFing, but I went ahead and finished the book. And I'm labeling it a DNF because I'm DNFing the series. And if I was to give this book a rating, it would probably be a 3.5. Now, the book is really good. It's just a lot to take in all at once. And so it took me forever to read. The characters were so crass that, you know, I liked it when I was reading it, but it was like The Walking Dead for me. I like it when I'm watching it, but the second you turn it off, you don't feel the need for you to turn it back on. I don't feel the need to carry on with it. You know, it was fun in the moment, but not something that I see myself continuing at all. The City of Fantôme. Now this one I have gone back and forth on quite a bit. This is a new adult romantasy, and it definitely has some enemies to lovers elements. We do have an assassin as one of our characters. And so I thought that I would really enjoy this, and my enjoyment it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be enjoyment wise. And so I came in at a 3.7, and I haven't decided if I'm going to continue. I've kept the first book, hoping that I will make a decision before I get rid of that and, move on. In my spreadsheet, I have it as a DNF, as for the series DNF. So we will see if I continue that or not. In my spreadsheet, I have marked it as a DNF, but I do kind of have the itch to go back to it every now and then. The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. Okay, I'm so excited for book 3. So excited for book 3. I've said a million times, this is a series that I love, not because this series is great, but because I read the original fan fiction, and the original fan fiction is one of my favorite stories of all time. I just think that when she tried to make it her own thing, a lot of the elements kind of fell flat. But if you go into it knowing the story of Rey and Kylo, or if you're a Reylo fan, this will hit, because it's everything that you kind of want the Rise of Skywalker to be. She kind of just said, no, I'm going to fix it. The Rise of Skywalker, that's not the ending we're going with. And I love it. I absolutely love it. But I understand when people don't. The Heir Duology by Sabaa Tahir. I am just kind of awaiting the second book's release, and I plan to read that. The first book I gave 4.4 stars. Hierarchy by James Islington. Strength of the Few would be book 2. I have not read it yet, and I've heard so many bad things about it. So I'm kind of getting nervous to read it, but I wasn't expecting to like The Will of the Many. I was expecting to DNF it, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. So I do hope that I will like The Strength of the Few when I get to it, but my eagerness to get to it has been diminished just a little bit. The Tithonai Chronicles by Foz Meadows. I have read the first 2 books. It comes in at a 4.8 for me. I really love the first 2 books, and I'm eagerly awaiting the third. I don't know when it's going to release. I hope it's going to be soon. There has been an extensive wait time between these books, but it is one of those that is romantasy, but dark fantasy is like what I would classify it as, not necessarily romantasy, though there are heavy romantic elements in the story. It's so good. Souls of Blackwood Academy by Ivy Marie. It's a trilogy, and I gave the first book 3.2 stars. However, I keep thinking about this book. Immortal Consequences would be the first book. I don't necessarily like academy settings, but this is an academy kind of in hell, with the people vying for the rights to be reapers. That's kind of what it is. And so I like the concept of this series, and from where it ends, I feel like I could really like the continuation of this series. So I'm keeping it on the list. I even listed the first book on Pango and was like, no, I'm just going to get rid of it. And then I took it off of Pango and it's back on my shelves. So I've had a back and forth with this one, but the second book doesn't work for me. Sure, I'll end up getting rid of it. Kings of Sin by Anna Wong. This is a romance series, and I have to say, I liked the first one quite a bit. So I do plan to continue. This is going to be a series, though, that I pick it up when I feel like it. It's going to be a mood thing. I'm not like chomping at the bit, eager to continue, but the first book I gave 4.4 stars, so I'll definitely pick up more Anna Wong along the way. I just don't know when that will be. Okay, we've talked about 5 Warrior Angels and the fact that I haven't finished it, but I do plan to restart the series and read it through. So that's going to be one that I do that with next year. Legends and Legacies by Cal Black. I've talked about this one a few times. I am still reading book 2, and I read it in bits and pieces because I know the third book hasn't been written yet. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need more of these characters in my life, but if I finish this, when is the third book going to come? So I'm just kind of slowly going through this book so that I can stay with these characters and pick them up whenever I need just a little shot of joy. The series currently is at a 4.3, that being the first book of the series. But yeah, I'm very eagerly awaiting the third book there. Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. I was very excited to see that this get a second book, and I have it on audio, but I have not listened to it yet. Loved the first book. This was my favorite science fiction novel for a really long time until I really delved into sci-fi. And so I'm very eager to see what she has done with this world. Okay, the Detective Ellen Warner series by Sarah Pierce. I have the second book on my current TBR. Am I going to read it? I don't know. So I've heard very awful things about the second book, even though I own it and want to read it for that reason. I'm like, do I though? Do I though? The Sanatorium was so good, and I gave it a 3.8. Like, it's a mystery thriller series, and with a detective at the heart of it. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but I do have the second book. Like I said, it's on my TBR for November. Am I going to read it? I don't know. My mood reading has hit me hard this month, so we'll see. Empire the Vampire, obviously, I am so eager to get to the third book. It's one I haven't shut up about. I need to read it, and I'm going to love it, I'm sure. Nightmareland Chronicles by Daniel Barnett. There are 6 books in this series, and I have read the first 2. I do own the third, so I will probably continue that at some point. I don't know. The Sourdough Universe by A.G. Slatter. One of my favorites, so yes, I definitely plan to continue. I did try to read The Crimson Road recently, and it didn't work for me, and I think it was wrong book, wrong time, because I've absolutely loved this series. This series, I have read 3 of the books, and it sets at a 4.6 for me, so it's pretty high up there. Witches of Thistle Grove by Lana Harper. I have read the first 2. There are 5 in this series currently. I do like these. They are kind of sweet, quick romances that I pick up when I feel like it. They're not anything I'm just like chomping at the bit to read, but whenever I need a fluffy light read, yeah, I'll pick these up. Escalon by Argady Martin. I definitely need to read that second book. I definitely need to read that second book. I have been on my own butt to read this book, and I still haven't done it. I haven't read much sci-fi this year, though. Here's one. The Imperial Rock by Ann Leckie. I read the first book, and I have to say, it was probably one of the most confusing books I have ever read until I settled into what was going on. And for that reason, I gave this first book a 3.6. And I just haven't picked it up since January of 2024. So, am I going to read it? I don't know. I do own it, so I do want to get to it, but I can't see myself picking it up. But that could just be because I haven't read much sci-fi lately, and that could be where I'm like, maybe not, maybe not. The Vagrant Gods we talked about. I do plan to complete that series. The Age of Uprising. I need to get my hands on the third book and just read it. I just haven't bought it yet. I don't know what's holding me back from doing that. Definitely needs to happen. The Dark Gods by Tara Sim. This might be an unintentional DNF because I loved the first book in this series, but I never continued. And so I don't know if I want to reread the first book, though. That's one of the things. Like, am I going to reread the first book to get to the rest of them? This might stay on that list of series that I need to do that with, but I have heard the follow-up books read a lot more YA than adult. And the reason I love the first book is because it read YA, it read adult, even though there were young characters in it. The Curse of Saints. I do need to tell you guys that I recently DNF'd this series because I got the arc for the third book, and I realized I did not care. The second book was kind of had a whiplash moment where everything that we did in the first book to get where we were going was negated by one action by one character in the very beginning of the second book. And from that point on, I kind of hated it. I didn't like the direction the story took. And then when I went to pick up the third book, I was like, I don't like this. I don't care. I don't care. And so I have DNF'd that series. The Empyrean by Rebecca Yarros. That might be a DNF, guys. I hated Onyx Storm. Violet was so whiny throughout the whole of the book, and I just couldn't stand it. So I'm teetering back and forth on this one. I know there are 5 books. I have read 3. The series sits at a 4.13, so it's still pretty high, even though I rated the third book a 3-star. So I will see. We'll see. It's probably going to depend on how I feel about it when the next book releases. War Arts Trilogy by Wesley Chu. I am planning to read the third book in that series, the final book in that series, very, very soon. And I really like it. It's coming at a 4.25 with me having read 2 books. War of Lost Hearts by Carissa Broadbent. I have read the first book. I need to continue on with that series. Fair Folk by Laura Celine. I've only read the first book. So a lot of these that are coming up, we're going to talk about in a different video. I've only read the first book of the series, and I need to continue on with them. Some of them, though, I will have to reread the first book in order to get to the second book. And I find I am okay with that. But I'm going to go ahead and cut it here because we've talked about the books that have been lingering on the TBR. And the rest of these, like I said, will be, I've read the first book. I'm either awaiting the continuation or I need to go back and reread the first book and then continue on. So that's it for my video today. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.